Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastya Chadeshatarane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchikapacharubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha. Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Charu Swami iti namane. Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees, for assembling in such numbers on such a sacred but sad occasion. It is just over the last 24 hours or a little more, plus back in 1977, when Srila Prabhupada left this world. Just over those two times, Prabhupada's disappearance and the immediate time here, that I feel I've really learned something at least of what Ramananda Roy expressed to Lord Chaitanya when they met for the first time. Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Roy, of all sufferings, what is the worst? And Ramananda Roy gave such an amazing answer. He said, except for separation from the devotee, I don't know of any intolerable suffering. So this has been our experience for the last 24 or 30 hours. And then, of course, back when Srila Prabhupada left, that was something we cannot really describe. But it reflects the nature of the devotee from whom we have become separated. The greater the devotee, the deeper the devotee, the warmer the devotee's heart, then the more the separation that we feel. So I have known Bhakti Charu Maharaj personally on a very personal level regularly since I think 1987, if I'm not mistaken, a little more than 30 years ago when he first came here to South Africa. And immediately when I met him, I noticed what an open-hearted and warm-hearted and soft-hearted devotee he was. We met first of all in the airport in Johannesburg. Then we drove down here to our Radha Radhanath temple in Durban. And I spent those hours with him, and what a wonderful experience. Since then, I've spent so much time with him. His visits here to South Africa, and then we would meet generally in Mayapur every year, and here and there at other times also. And his mood was unchanging, always very warm, always very kind to everyone, including myself personally. He was never ever negligent in his relationship with me. He was always very careful and attentive and really looked after me, just like you could say, just like a younger brother. So I'll never forget that. And over this day, and I'm sure it will continue over the following days, feelings of separation have been, well, quite overpowering and overwhelming. But what can be done? This is the nature of the material world. We all have to face this. We already faced it before when Srila Prabhupada left. So I've been also thinking about how we should all, and particularly his disciples, should take it. Because we don't want to just get into some mood of misery and lamentation as materialistic people do when they're separated from someone who's been very close to them for a long time. Krishna consciousness is different, very different. And even though there's sometimes great separation there, but that separation is very intimately connected, intimately and inseparably connected with the mood of being together with the person. So in this regard, I'd just like to tell you, particularly disciples of Bhakti Charu Maharaj, of an experience I had with Srila Prabhupada. It was 1973. I had not been living in the temple in London for a long time, just maybe less than a year. And it was Janmashtami Day. Prabhupada was installing Radha Gokulananda in Bhaktivedanta Manor. I was what is called the temple commander in our central London temple. It means I was basically second in charge under the president. And Prabhupada was installing Radha Gokulananda at Bhaktivedanta Manor, not too far away, an hour's drive away. That very day, everyone wanted to go. I wanted to go also. But the temple president, Prabhu Vishnu Prabhu, he told me in a very matter-of-fact way, he said, Prabhu, one of us has to stay here because it's Janmashtami and many people will be coming, festival will be going on. So he was the president, I was his second man. You can guess who had to stay back. Yes, it was me, and we had a wonderful festival. But initially, those thoughts of how I would like to be at the manor with Prabhupada for that special program, they were just almost haunting me. But then I remembered how I'd read a number of times actually that Prabhupada said, the spiritual master is there in his instructions. The spiritual master is there in his service. And I thought, yes, let me meditate on that and just see what experience comes. So I really tried to focus my mind on this understanding that Prabhupada was there with me right at that time, that I was not exactly just separated, but there was a transcendental connection. And sure enough, shortly, within less than half an hour, I felt this deep, of course, it's very subtle, but deep connection with Srila Prabhupada. And I understood that actually it's true. He's there with me because I'm engaged in his service. So for all of you disciples of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj, please try to meditate on this. Please try to meditate on this, that our relationships are eternal. They're not limited by space and time and geographical considerations. So your relationship with Bhakti Charu Maharaj, your Guru Maharaj, is similarly not limited. It's only limited by our consciousness. So please try to meditate on this as you engage in his service in Prabhupada's ISKCON. And I guarantee, if you really focus your minds like that, then you'll feel that you're with him again, because you will be, because he will not have left you. He'll be with you eternally. Please try to do like this. And in this way, you'll enter into another level of experience in Krishna consciousness, and you'll realize the depths of Krishna consciousness. It is certainly transcendental and beyond the limitations of this material world. So thank you very much. And I'm praying to Bhakti Charu Maharaj. I'm sure he's now with Prabhupada and Radha and Krishna. Please put in a good word for me. Put in a good word for me so that we can meet up again face to face before too long. Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Hare Krishna.
Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtachate Shatarane Pansha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. About one of our other God brothers, Shivaram Raj Swami once said, because this God brother was a wonderful Kirtaniya, is a wonderful Kirtaniya. Maharaj said, you can't chant like that after only one lifetime. So that was just Kirtan, but Bhakti Charu Maharaj is of a different caliber. I can't even speak of lifetimes because what do we know where Bhakti Charu Maharaj has come from? But Srila Prabhupada immediately selected him out. Prabhupada, those with ordinary vision like me might not have seen right away. In fact, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, with whom Bhakti Charu Maharaj had such a close relationship, he questioned Prabhupada that isn't he rather new? You're giving him second initiation, you're giving him sannyas. And Prabhupada, I don't remember exactly the quotation, but it was like, you have no idea. Prabhupada immediately saw that Krishna had sent him such a special person. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj proved that. I've recounted elsewhere that when Maharaj first came, not first, but when he came to Vrindavan in Prabhupada's last days, I'd been there for a little bit longer. And Maharaj came in the middle of the night, as I recall. And he offered his obeisances to Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada, of course, was lying prone on his bed. And Maharaj began speaking to Prabhupada in such a soothing voice and with such a gentle mood. Speaking to Prabhupada in Bengali, I couldn't understand, but I could understand the purport. And if I remember, he was also like massaging Prabhupada's head or soothing Prabhupada's head. And his mood was just so wonderful that I thought that this is what a disciple is like. This is what it means to be a disciple, to have so much love for the spiritual master, to be so gentle and so willing to serve. I thought this is a real disciple. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, when Krishna leaves the planet, Arjuna says, Soham Nrpendra Rahita Purushottamena Sakya Priyena Surida Hridayena Shunya. Yudhisthira had been asking different speculative questions about what had happened, why Arjuna was so dejected. And Arjuna finally came out and said that now I'm bereft of that person, Purushottam, that supreme person who's was my friend, Sakena, and Priyena, who was so dear, Surita, who was such a well-wisher. Now, Hridayena Shunya. Now my heart is vacant. Now my heart is vacant. But this is how we feel when the spiritual master leaves, or when such a dear friend leaves. Hridayena Shunya. Now my heart is vacant. But as the narrative unfolds, the Arjuna says, Desha kalarta yuktani vittapo pashamani cha haranti smaratas chittam govinda vihitani me. Now I'm attracted to those instructions that he gave me. And because they can relieve the burning heart. Hrittapo pashamanicha. They can relieve the burning heart. As the narration proceeds, then it's described that by remembering Krishna's instructions, Arjuna was, whatever unwanted things were in his heart, whatever trash, Bhagavatam says, was in his heart, was driven away, and he was pacified. But Krishna is still with us by his words of instruction. So naturally we'll feel stricken and by the absence of Bhakti Charu Maharaj. But as we continue, we have to remember his words of instruction, his example, his very clear instructions to his disciples about what they should do. He didn't leave ambiguity. Should I stay in ISKCON? Should I leave here, go someplace else? Should I serve in some other way? He was unequivocal. And not only on that matter of institutional loyalty, but the whole path of Krishna consciousness, from the philosophical outline down to the fine details. Everything was there, from the finer points of etiquette to the greater points of standing up for what Prabhupada wanted, for, as he said, barking. If I'm Prabhupada's dog, and if I see something intruding, I have to bark. So we had that, we saw that in New York City. He played such a heroic role in saving our temple. And even in the little things, he was so refined. He was so refined. This is what a Vaishnava is. It's hard to understand, to describe what a Vaishnava is. It's like, where do you get the words? How do you convey it to someone? But those who've come in touch with Bhakti Charu Maharaj, they know what a Vaishnava is. So we can just remember him, worship him, and serve his instructions and carry on. That's the life of the disciple. In the absence of the spiritual master's physical presence, his instructions are the life and soul of the disciple. There was some book that was brought to Prabhupada one time, written by one of his godbrothers, where the godbrother wrote that when my Guru Maharaj left this world, I lost the light of my life. And then he describes how he did so many other things. And then now finally I'm writing this book. Prabhupada said he should have served Guru Maharaj. Wandering here, wandering there. He should have served Guru Maharaj. So Bhakti Charu Maharaj very excellently served Srila Prabhupada, his Guru Maharaj. And Maharaj's disciples can have that excellent example to follow. Not only his disciples, we all have that excellent example to follow. This is how a Vaishnava lives. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well, this has been a very moving experience. Remembering His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaja in separation now, and recalling, his affectionate dealings personally and his inspired service. I first met him in the bathroom, the makeshift bathroom at the Maha Kumbh Mela in 1977. He was a new person to me, so I asked, who he was and what his background was. And I won't reiterate what others have said about his service. Prabhupada recognized him and brought him close, gave him first and second initiation at one time, and then 6 months later, sannyas. I was very touched, overall, by His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami's talk, but in particular, his account of how Bhakti Charu Swami entered Srila Prabhupada's room when Srila Prabhupada was very ill at the end in Vrindavan, and spoke in a very loving and soothing way to him in Bengali. That really touched me because, that was just so beautiful. In Nanda Kumar Prabhu's nice talk, he listed a succession of qualities, and at the end, he concluded with the phrase, the heart of a Vaishnav. And I wrote something about Maharaj called the heart of a Vaishnav. And hearing that, I felt sort of encouraged to read that little reflection. One of Sripad Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaja's most prominent qualities was his deep love for Srila Prabhupada. Very soon after Maharaj met Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada included him in his personal staff and made him his secretary for Bengali and Hindi correspondence. Soon thereafter, Srila Prabhupada gave him first and second initiation and then sannyas. And Maharaj personally served Srila Prabhupada throughout Prabhupada's last days. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami was also devoted to ISKCON. He always considered ISKCON to be a unique creation of Srila Prabhupada's and always wanted to serve ISKCON, both the devotees in ISKCON and ISKCON as an entity, a manifestation of Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, he really did consider ISKCON to be an entity, to be served, and he always encouraged devotees to be, loyal to ISKCON and attached to ISKCON. Yeah. He was really in the mood of service to the devotees, especially the devotees of ISKCON, and to ISKCON itself. Maharaj was a very pure-hearted, loving person. His love for Srila Prabhupada was seen in his love for the devotees and for people in general, whom he wanted to bring to Srila Prabhupada, and in how he encouraged devotees to increase their engagement, take on more responsibility, and become more loving, humble servants the more responsibility one accepts, Maharaj once explained to a devotee in Mauritius, the bigger servant of the devotees one becomes. And yeah, that was so much Maharaj's mood, to be the servant of the servant of the servant. So yeah, the more responsibility one accepts, Maharaj once explained to a devotee in Mauritius, the bigger servant of the devotees one becomes. This reminded me of something Srila Prabhupada once said. A disciple came into Prabhupada's room in Mayapur one day and began to complain about the management. Srila Prabhupada said, if you think you can do better, why don't you? Somehow, the disciple came out and announced that Srila Prabhupada had made him the temple commander, and he began to boss around the other devotees. Some devotees complained to Srila Prabhupada that the devotee had said that Prabhupada had made him the temple commander and that now he was barking orders at everyone. So Srila Prabhupada called for the devotee and instructed him, first you become the servant of everyone, then you become the temple commander. And so Srila Prabhupada expressed the same idea as Bhakti Charu Swami, that a bigger position means becoming a bigger servant. And if we listen carefully to all of Maharaj's instructions, we can understand how closely he followed the disciplic succession. Some of his statements were very close to Srila Prabhupada's words, and some took the basic principles that Srila Prabhupada gave and sweetened them with personal realization. Another of the many fine qualities exemplified by His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj was his offenselessness. He was very careful not to commit any offense against any devotee or any living entity. And if he felt he had committed an offense, he would immediately try to mitigate the effects by approaching the person, apologizing, and asking forgiveness. Somehow or other, he tried to rectify the offense. From our point of view, we wouldn't think he had committed an offense, but within his pure heart, he may have felt that he had, and immediately he would try to approach and please the person he feared he had offended, to remove the effects of the offense. Maharaj's heart was pure and very sensitive, full of compassion for other devotees and sensitive to his own faults, which again, from our point of view, wouldn't even have been considered faults. That is really the heart of a Vaishnava, full of love and appreciation for others, but sensitive to one's own deficiencies or mistakes. As stated by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 12, 13, and 14, this is, I just feel this describes Maharaj. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination. His mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. One other, many devotees have commented on what a gentleman Maharaj was. And yeah, he was a gentleman. He followed Vaishnava etiquette perfectly. And he helped the movement. He helped the movement immeasurably in so many ways. But one of the ways in which he helped was to teach devotees Vaishnava etiquette. But the idea of him being a perfect gentleman reminded me of an exchange that took place with Srila Prabhupada, in which an interviewer asked Prabhupada, how would I recognize a true follower of the Krishna consciousness movement by his behavior? What would his traits be? What would his outward expressions be? And Prabhupada replied, yes, his behavior, he's a perfect gentleman, that's all. You cannot find any fault in him. That is perfect Krishna consciousness. So His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami was certainly a perfect gentleman, and the conclusion would be based on Srila Prabhupada's statement that he was perfect in Krishna consciousness. One small thing that one of his disciples wrote me yesterday, in the aftermath of Maharaj's departure, he was lamenting that he wouldn't be able to hear Maharaj call his name. And I could relate to that because, in general, when he uttered my name, and I'm sure it's true of all of the other devotees' names, but in my case, I remember when he uttered my name, it would be just so full of love and mercy. There was one incident. The incident's not important, but it's just to give a context to his statement. But Maharaj initiated a very nice disciple in Santa Barbara and gave him the name Giriraj Priya. And Maharaj had another disciple in the Santa Barbara area named Kandarpa Manjari. And she said to Maharaj, this is in San Diego, the initiation took place. He said to Maharaj, now you have a disciple in Santa Barbara, so, you'll have reason to come to Santa Barbara now. And he looked at me and with so much love and affection, he said, I will come to Santa Barbara not to be with my disciple. I will come to Santa Barbara to be with Giriraj Maharaj. And the way he said Giriraj Maharaj, it was really just full of love and mercy. So, yeah, we miss him. But as we know from Shastra and we know from experience, as Srila Prabhupada wrote in his dedication to his Srimad Bhagavatam, dedicated to his spiritual master, he lives forever by his divine instructions and the follower lives with him. So in that way, we associate with Srila Prabhupada in his absence. And when we associate with Srila Prabhupada, we associate with his dear associates. As Srila Prabhupada explained in his purport to the prayer Vandeham, but that would be a bit of a digression. But the spiritual master is not alone, he's with his associates. And so, for now, as long as possible, I guess you could say I will continue to associate with Srila Prabhupada, and now with His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaja by Vani, by following their instructions and example. Maharaj is like such an inspiration to so many devotees and to me as well. And I really pray to him and to all of you that I will be able to live up at least to some little degree to his expectations, his wishes, as a servant of Srila Prabhupada, of him, of his disciples, of everyone in ISKCON and everyone in the world. One of the qualities mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion is to not give pain to any living entity. And the Nectar of Devotion has a quotation in support of that principle, that the devotee acts towards everyone something like as an affectionate mother acts towards her child, and does not cause any painful action in the mind of any living entity. And I think Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaja really had that quality, exemplified that quality, and that's one of the many qualities of his that I will try to imbibe, try to emulate him in his wonderful qualities and service. And thank you all for coming together for this wonderful opportunity to appreciate and glorify and serve His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaja. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for those very profound and comforting words. Really, really appreciate it. It definitely cools the heart that's burning. Thank you so much. So Maharaj, would you now lead Nishikadev prayer, and then we'll conclude after that?
Sure. Namaste Narasingaya. Good if the others are muted. There's some delay between responding. Please forgive me if I committed any crime. Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya. Prahlada Ito Nishringa Parato Nishringo. Yato Yato Yamitato Nishringa. Bahe Nishringo Hridaye Nishringo. Nishringamadhyam Sharanam Prapade. Tavakara Kamala Varenaka Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Vrindam Keshavajita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Tavakara Kamala Varenaka Madhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Vrindam Keshavajita Narayana Jagadisha Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Nrsimhadev, Jaya Nrsimhadev, Nrsimhadev, Jaya Nrsimhadev. Jaya Nrsimhadev, Jaya Nrsimhadev, Nrsimhadev, Jaya Nrsimhadev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Sringa Bhagavan ki jai. Prahlad Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Ad ki jai. Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj ki jai.